Good evening, everyone. It is sharp 8 p.m., and I'm very happy that we are in the second episode of our Signia conversations with nurse leaders who have achieved their PhD while managing their, very important responsibility of running the nursing department. And I'm very, very happy that Dr. Anil Dr. Stein Anil has agreed to be on our show this time. Last time we had Dr. Elizabeth Joseph, and these conversations are being primarily held to motivate our nurses that they can achieve what they want. And may these leaders who come here and talk, we are going to have it recorded, available on our YouTube. So whenever you want to go and listen to them again, you should be able to do that. So it gives me great pleasure to invite Dr. Shine Anil. Shine, could you please on your video?
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, all.
Very, very happy to have you here, Shine. And I think we go a very long way back from the time of Fortis. And
Yes.
actually, I forgot that I have actually seen you in Fortis. I remember you from Wokhart when I had come there, a few years ago.
Yes.
So very happy that you're here. So before we start, I just want to give you someone's happiness in seeing you reach here. So maybe you remember Mr. Varun Khanna. Yes?
Yeah.
He was the I think he was the regional director of Fortis at that time.
He was.
When you were there, right?
Yeah. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Now in Indonesia, so if he ever watches this on Facebook or anywhere, I would say, hi, Mr. Varun. I am giving your compliments to Shine because he wrote back to me. I'm so happy to see her success. So I'm, conveying that compliments to you. Great.
Yeah, great.
So thank you so much, and people will continue to join, I'm very sure, and we are also streaming it live on the Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So may I request everyone to keep their video and audio muted so that these discussions that we are having can be heard without any interruptions. So Shine, with your permission, I'm going to play a prayer song and then we get into our chat. Just give me a moment.
Yeah.
कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी हैं, ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी हैं, ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है। आती है आंधियाँ तो कर उनका खैर मकदम, आती है आंधियाँ तो कर उनका खैर मकदम, तूफान से ही तो लड़ने खुदा ने तुझे गढ़ा है। ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी हैं, ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है। के सोना है और भी निखरता, अग्नि में तप के सोना है और भी निखरता, दुर्गम को जो पड़ा है। ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी हैं, ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है। वो सर्व शक्तियों से जब साथ है हमारे, वो सर्व शक्तियों से जब साथ है हमारे, हर काम उसके रहते हरगिज़ हुआ पड़ा है। कभी हारना ना, हिम्मत का कदम बढ़ाओ, कभी हारना ना, हिम्मत का कदम बढ़ाओ। हजारों कदम बढ़ाने वो सामने खड़ा है। ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी हैं, ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है।
So, Shine, I think that prayer song happened to be pretty apt also.
Yeah, very touching.
I've gone through,
Been-
I'm sure that was not a very easy time for you to be working towards PhD.
True.
First of all, let me really share my surprise once I got you on the show is that you have 30 years of experience. My goodness, I cannot. I'm still looking at you as someone who has got maybe 20, 22 years of experience. God bless you. Stay young, stay healthy. Okay. So that's great. So we have about 7 minutes to talk before we get into your thesis. So I would like you to share with us that when did you think of doing PhD, and why did you think of doing PhD? Because you're already in service and you had good scope of becoming the nursing head, or everything is there, and you were the first time nursing head. And how did you think of doing PhD at that time? Yeah, I request everyone to mute yourself, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shine.
So, good evening, one and all, and thank you for listening to me, and thank you, Tangang ma'am, for giving this opportunity. And what I would like to share the message is when you sit in a train or a flight or a public transport, you always reach your destination. So when you reach a destination, probably there can be some hurdles or there can be a breakdown, but whatever it is, finally you reach your destination. So before I go into my PhD story, I just want to narrate about my MSc. Now, I give all the credit to Miss Joykuti Miss and Miss Rani Miss, Miss Alka and Miss Nancy, who, when I had been to Bangalore and I was attending a leadership program, and that's the time I got the message from Miss that Shine, you are selected for MSc. And once I finished, there were a lot of hurdles because I was married and I had two children. And then I did my MSc. My husband and my family was a big support. So after that, so that it just 2 years just went very smoothly. I didn't had any hurdles or any challenges much because I had support from everywhere, from friends, from family, from spouse, everyone. And then I joined Work Hard, and one fine day when I was, it was fag end of the day, and Elizabeth ma'am called and asked me, Shine, do you want to enroll for PhD? And the immediate answer was yes. I didn't think anything, and I had in a mind, but not like, I was looking forward to do it very soon. But then there was a spark in my mind. And when she asked me, I just said yes. And then you will not believe the journey, probably God's blessing and support from everyone. The journey was so smooth. Now also I have to pinch myself and make aware that yes, I have done my PhD. And that is the feeling I have. So what I want to tell everybody is, if you have got as if you have got the inspiration to do, if you've got the motivation to do, I'm sure that everyone can reach heights. So that is the message I wanted to give to everyone.
Great, thank you. But I'm very sure that though you said the journey was smooth and everybody was supporting, did you have moments of doubts? Did I get into something that, really was too much? I'm very sure because as human beings,
Yeah,
we do take decisions, and, in between these doubts, they come in.
yeah,
So, did you have such moments, and how did you overcome
yeah.
those moments?
Yeah. So if you ask about doubts, like, I'll just give you a background to my PhD is, after my master's, I joined Fortis for a year, and then I joined Wokhad. So I got an opportunity to go to Boston, and Dr. Parag and Sister Elizabeth, they told me that there is a simulation instructor course, so you can be an simulation instructor plus ACLS instructor is the basic requirement for this. You will be able to do it. They did not ask me whether you will go. They said you will do a good job. So take up this opportunity. So even I headed for that. I became a simulation instructor. I came back, and then I put lot of to create this awareness about simulation based teaching and learning. I did a lot of hard work, like not only in Wokhad, even in the other branches of Wokhad, we spread this awareness. We went there, we taught them about simulation. So when I decided to do my PhD, already it was instilled in my mind. Whenever you are doing a PhD, simulation should be a topic. So if I am talking about topic, I didn't had any doubt what topic to be chosen, because it was always there back of my mind. I will do something in simulation. But yes, when I say smooth means there were a lot of challenges, everything, but somehow there, because of the support from the family and friends, we were able to handle those challenges. Especially when I enrolled in PhD, I was in Sobo Wokhad. After few months, I was given the responsibility of heading this Mira Road Wokhad. So taking up the new administrative role, and then also doing this PhD, yes, it was not that easy, I would say. But if you ask me what were the major challenges, I I I'm not able to figure out much, because probably a good support was there. I'm not boosting myself, but whatever I wanted to do, I was able to do it. And any time when I felt low, like example, especially when we were writing the chapters, sometimes, it was a little tiresome, because sitting at night till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you sit and then you work on it, because when everyone sleeps, that's the time you can think and you can do your work. So that time, Elizabeth ma'am was there to always motivate me. I don't know what telepathy she had. Whenever I used to feel low, a call used to come from her, and that used to motivate me, and vice versa. We both, motivated each other. So I would say that it all went on smoothly, and yeah. So there was no concern to choose the topic, but yes, the journey was had its own plus points and negative points. Yeah.
So I think, in summary, from last conversation with Elizabeth and the conversation with you, the common factor is that there was enough support all
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that at least there was one person who was, kind of motivating you whenever you were feeling a little low, because there can be a lot of pressure when you're managing the hospital, big department, and then also trying to do PhD. It may not be easy. So I'm sure that there was someone who was there who was motivating you, and this was a common factor we found in both the conversations. So that's great, and I'm very happy to know that you have done your thesis around simulation, because that is a big favorite for me. and I'm also simulation trainer. I've been certified from Singapore, and I could do a fair amount of high fidelity simulation
Okay.
in standalone lab of hours for about 4.5 years. That was a very fulfilling experience, but I think in India it is still in the baby steps, I should say, because
Yeah.
it's not yet
True.
to the full potential. But I am very happy that INC is now including simulation in their curriculum,
Correct.
and the medical college is already getting into simulation. But we were using it in some other form anyway in
Yeah.
our nursing, though it was not called as, but at least low fidelity and medium fidelity simulation was anyway in place.
True.
So without much of a delay, I would really like you to share about your thesis and how what was the study about. And so that is the educative part for our participants sitting here, and for all the people who are going to watch in future days from our YouTube channel, and people who are watching us on the Facebook. So Dr. Shine Anil, please share your thesis study. Thank you.
Yeah. You can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Yeah, please go
You
ahead.
can see my screen.
Yes, Shine, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the topic of my thesis was the effectiveness of simulation education model on the knowledge and competency levels of nurses. Now, this is the certificate which I received. I did the simulation instructor course from the Institute of Medical Simulation, Boston, and in the year 2013. And as rightly Dr. Haig stated in psychology, brain is mainly image processor and it is not a word processor. Hence, we grasp easily by doing than listening. Now, why I felt the need of the study is, like, I'm sure that you all agree with me. We have a lot of new joiners, like the maximum retention of a staff in an organization is at the most 1 year or 2 year. So there were a lot of new joinees. So we need to prepare this new nurses, and it's better to have an outcome-based learning than a process-based learning. Patient care, as you know, there were complex cases and the demands of the customer were very high. They wanted good quality patient care. And of course, for everyone, the mantra is patient safety and quality care, which was again, it's a responsibility. And as the IPSD goal talks about international patient safety goals, it talks about patient safety. So that was also a priority. And it's very important to build up the competency of a nurse or a privilege of a nurse. It's better to have a hands-on skill and to handle complexity of care. So this was the need for doing this study. And what the first step, what we do is we do review of literature. So there were a lot of readings done, a lot of literature were reviewed on what are the effective method of teaching, read upon on simulator, read about on improvement, how to improve knowledge, skill, and confidence, about debriefing and the multidimensional approach. So it is always said that if you read and read and read, we can become a good writer. So the objectives of the study was, like you can see there is, I just made a summary of it. Like the first objective was to assess the perceptions regarding the simulation education model, also to assess the pre-existing knowledge, then their competency skill, to create a design and develop a simulation education model. And after that, to check the effectiveness of the model by giving a post-test and assess the level of confidence, and also to correlate the association between knowledge and competency level, recommend for effective implementation of this model, and also to distribute pamphlets on simulation-based learning in different organizations. So as you see in this picture, this has benefit to the community, to the organization, to the patients, to the educators in academic as well as in clinical areas, nurse managers, and also, yes, to the ground level nurses. Now, if you see the learning pyramid, if you see, it's very important that the participatory teaching methods is focused. Like as you have seen in this diagram, Knowledge retention rates is whenever you teach others, you become master of that subject. Whenever you practice anything, whenever you practice, when your hands-on is used or your skill is improved, your competency is improved. And also when you discuss things, you become an expert. So if you see the level of knowledge retention rates, it's always a participatory teaching methods is better than a classroom PPT teaching method. Now, just to give you a gist of what is simulation, you might wonder, now there is simulation, there is role play. So what is the difference? If you see the what is simulation is where you create a real world representation. So you lay down your goals, you lay down your objectives, and through this experiential training, you represent a real world representation in the classroom. Or it is also, you can take it as not necessary that you do the simulation only in the classroom. You can do in the clinical areas. So you can create clinical scenarios so that you become master in the subject. So that is, so what you need to remember is, whenever you think of doing a simulation, you need to have a scenario created. Now, when we came from Boston, we also, the easiest scenario which we took, what we took is where Pearl, Devashri, ma'am, Dr. Parag, everybody, we had called outside consultants from various organizations. We created a simulation scenario on BLS, basic life support. So any procedure, anything and everything you can simulate. So if you think of any procedure, first thing is you need to have a scenario. What is the advantage of having this scenario is so that, suppose today I am the trainer, tomorrow it can be someone else. So you can always go through this, like how you have your standard operative procedures in the organization. Similarly, the scenario will help you to understand what was the learning objective, how did it help the students, how will you prepare the environment, who are the actors in this, what is the case narrative which is given, what notes you need to mention, how will you do a debriefing, how can you do a pilot testing, everything first you need to define. Once you define your scenario, then what you need to remember is you can have a classroom, or you can have a clinical teaching. You do simulation, even in the best is you do in clinical area, and then you will be able to, the nurse will be able to give quality care to patients in real patients. So that is the chain of continuum of learning. Now, there can be different types, as ma'am already mentioned. There can be low fidelity, there can be high fidelity. So here what I have done is I have taken two procedures for this simulation. So one procedure what I had taken was about pressure sore management. So what we did is, it was, when I say pressure sore management, it talks not only about care of pressure sore, but begins from the assessment, from prevention, from identifying what are the stages of pressure sore. So what we did is we created models. You can show pictures, you can show PPT, but when you create a models, what happened, the look and feel of the model helps the nurse to understand how severe is the injury. So we created models and then we circulated in the class. The main objective was, one, to learn what are the stages. Second is to understand in-depth of the injury, and also to make them realize that poor nursing care can lead to this pressure sore. So this is an example of low fidelity. High fidelity is where, like this picture I took from Boston when I went, is where a mannequin is there. You can have a software in this mannequin. This mannequin could speak, and inside you have a computer. Like if the students are performing any procedure, there is a programmer, software is there. So with the help of the programmer, you can set what you want. Example, if you want tachypnea, or if you want atrial fibrillation, so, or if you want any convulsion, so everything you can program, and the nurse critical thinking, her judgment, her reflection, her reactions can be recorded and can be discussed later. So this is an example of high fidelity. You have a sim lab. So this is an sim lab, which when I went to MGH, that is Massachusetts General Hospital, I saw this sim lab where it is a glass mirror in between. You have a dummy mannequin, and the instructor can sit here and tell what are the various scenarios. Accordingly, the nurse can practice and you can assess the competency. So, there in Boston, what happened whenever you are doing a competency assessment or whenever a new joinee is inducted in the organization, they give 2, 3 procedures and they assess their competency, and based on that, they give the privilege. That is how they use this sim lab, which even we can do it. Now, in my, what I would say is you can either have a sophisticated sim lab or you can have a simple sim lab. So when I say sim lab, it's very important that you have a mannequin. You can have a full mannequin or you can have a torso mannequin. And what is important is it has to be an ideal patient room itself. Suppose if you have got a central supply of oxygen and suction, that is what you need to have in your sim lab. A real world experience you need to give to the nurses. So you need to have all the consumables, maybe, which is nearing expiry date, those consumables you can keep. So you have to have a if you want to teach operation theater nurse, you need to have an operation theater setup. If you want to teach an ICU nurse, you need to have an ICU nurse setup. And in the adjacent room, you can have few chairs and computer and laptop. So either you can have a simple sim lab or you can have a sophisticated sim lab. Then I have just listed down what is the requirement of a sim training center. So when you say an ideal sim training center is where you need resources. When I talk about resources, it is manpower resources. It involves the infrastructure. It involves a debriefing room. It involves a TV, equipments, mannequin, high fidelity mannequin, crash cart with defibrillator, laptop, all these list of items I have listed down. Then what is important? Now you might be thinking, oh, we all do this, everyone does this. Everyone, even we do role plays or we do mock drills, okay, in the form of simulation. Good, I'm glad about it. But what is important is after you have a simulation scenario, it's very important that you debrief. Debriefing is a very important, it goes hand in hand with simulation based learning. So when I say debrief, you need to call all the people who are involved in this training and you need to ask them the reaction. Sometimes what happened, we start talking. So instead of that, whoever were the actors or who all were involved, ask everybody's reaction. Ask them about what they felt, okay, in the beginning. And what did they feel? What were their reactions? What were the positive feelings? What were the negative feelings? Start with the reactions. Once you start with the reactions, then you can go on with like what are the learnings you had in this debriefing. Now it's very important, like the instructor, you need to have a trained instructor. Simulation instructor, I have undergone training. That's why I'm a certified simulation instructor. But anybody can become an instructor. But you need to have some qualities in her. Example, when I told she should be interested in creating simulation scenarios, she need to have a debriefing pro forma ready, where she needs to write down what are the events, what are the observations, what were the outcomes. Now, when you mention these events and outcomes, either you can reflect back by, if you have recorded the whole scenario, you can sit in a room and you can reflect this on the TV and then you can understand each stages. That is one way of doing. Second way of doing is no need to sit in a classroom wherever you are. Like example, if you have actually done a code blue, I'm not talking about mock. If you have actually done a code blue, after the patient is settled down, the whole team can come together. Maybe even if it is 5-10 minutes, it's okay. You can just express out what were the reactions, what went good, what went wrong, how can we improve next time. Only if you do this debriefing, then only I would say that your teaching and training is successful. So this debriefing is very important component in this simulation, which we do practice in an organization. Like in Wokhart, when I was there, for every code blue, whether it may be a mock or an actual code blue, debriefing was done. So it's very important. It's a multidisciplinary team who needs to be involved and then who has to take this forward. So what were the findings of my study was, like, if you see the age distribution, of course, the nurses, maximum nurses were in the, like 53% were in the age group of 20 to 25. And uh, also, if I see the perception, like I had already taught in Sobo, that is South Mumbai. I had already taught everybody, not only nurses, all the disciplines we had taught about simulation, and every department had created a simulation scenario. We had a book of around 150 simulation scenarios prepared. So when I assessed the perception of simulation among nurses, everybody felt, it is technology. Some felt it is technology. Some felt it is very complex. Some felt it is fiction. But simulation is a technique, which had a good awareness among nurses after the post test. So what is important for each one us to understand is simulation is a technique and it is not a technology. If you see the knowledge, now we say in the first year we learn what is back care, what are the steps of back care, what are the stages of pressure. So when I assess the knowledge, you can see the variations. What we have is both the comparison is given, that is the pre-test and the post-test, where we had to start from scratch teaching them what are the stages of pressure. So and the competency. So when we saw the stages of pressure, so like in pressure, so we check not only the knowledge, we also assess the competency. We had a dummy and then we asked them to perform what is the how a back care is given, and there was an observation checklist, plus there was a questionnaire given, and there was a perception tool also created to assess the to understand the perception of the nurses. Then one more procedure. Now when I say was the model was created. Now when I say it can also be a video created, so you can either have a video and you can teach the nurses about any procedure which you want. So here there was a weak area was about patient room orientation. So we have created a video and then we saw the performance of the staff before pre-test and post-test. Another thing what we also assessed is what is the level of confidence of nurses after introducing simulation-based learning. So if you see that there was 56.9% who strongly agree that simulation-based learning helped us to gain confidence. Now, especially, when you perform the procedure, you get confidence. When you do a debriefing, you get confidence to speak. So it was a confidence level was not only in the performing the procedure, also the communication along with the team. All these points were assessed by using a confidence scale tool. So what is my recommendation is to the organization is you need to have, it has to be always a problem-based learning. And also you need to have a well-known effective learning strategies laid down. In the clinical area, we have a nurse educator, but it is very important that a nurse educator gets a background of what is simulation and she knows what are her roles and responsibilities. Now, we always think that if we don't have a sim man, it will be very difficult for us to do simulation. No, it is not like that. Again, having a high fidelity simulator, like example, there are few organizations who have got high fidelity simulator where you can create this real life experience with real life communication system. Also, it's very important to take feedback. Periodically, you need to take feedback from the nurses regarding the performances and the outcomes. And it is always a multidisciplinary team involvement. So I'm sure that everything has to be in an organized manner, and debriefing should be mandatorily implemented in real scenarios. Now, when we talk about recommendations to organizations, similarly, we have recognition to INC, and Tanga ma'am already said that Indian Nursing Council is also incorporated this simulation program in the nursing curriculum, which is really a good thing. And I would like to now in all the clinical setup, what happened, we have somebody who takes care of practices, somebody who takes care of education, and another nurse who takes care of council quality. So education council need to understand what are the high volume, low risk procedures. You need to identify which are high volume, low risk procedures and low volume, high risk procedures. Like example, the patient on ECMO. This can be low volume, high risk procedure. Okay, so you need to identify these procedures, and mandatorily, all these procedures should be through simulation based learning, where you need to create a real life scenario, teach them, and then do their competency and privileging than just asking questions. And simulation instructor also need to understand how it is benefited by this simulation based learning. Like if I can proudly say that in my organization, we have stopped totally this classroom teaching with PPT. We have everything, all the topics, you can convert into simulation based learning, almost everything and anything. You need not pick, choose. Everything and anything you can teach based on simulation based learning. You have your SOP. So all your SOPs is an example to introduce this simulation based learning. And you can create training videos also. So this is with the team where I had done this course, and I'm really proud that today I'm a simulation instructor. Now, to add on to my study, what else I want, there are a few other things also which I want to tell you is every success is like an iceberg. Now, in iceberg, what happened? You only see the top part, but what actually you go through is it's not seen. The dedication you have, the commitment you have, the focus you have, the persistence, the challenges, all this is not seen. But I would say that when I did the study, the team who was there in Wokhad, South Mumbai, and Wokhad, North Mumbai also, that is Lydia, Chandni, Janvi, Lissy, Liji, everyone was motivated, was ready to help me out. I had to just tell them what they want, and they were ready to help me out. So it is, and why this cooperation was there, I feel so, why? Because it was very organized. Because I wanted to do my study also, every procedure was well organized. I had a simulation, I had my objectives laid down, I had my scenarios laid down, I had my debriefing models, everything was laid down. So it was very easy for my supporters or my team to help me out. So help me out in every stage, they helped me out. So it was not a big hurdle for me to do the study. Only the challenge I had is when I had to do my chapter writing, where I had to spare time after my work and then sit and write the chapter writing. So what I would like to tell you all is, if you want to shine like a sun, first what you need to is you need to burn like a sun, which is very, very important. And I really want to thank everyone. That especially I want to thank my family who supported me. My mother, if you say, like, she was she knew that I sit late night, so she used to come in the midnight also, prepare for me tea, coffee, and give early morning again she would come. My husband was real support. Imagine, after marriage doing MSc and PhD, so he was a real support. Wokhad Sobo team I would thank, and also Wokhad Nobo team, who was constantly with me throughout my study. And what I missed out, and I want to talk to you, is you need a guide who will motivate you always. So this guide, what is special about this guide is she had a calendar chalked out, and she gave us this. And she said that this period you need to complete this. So every stage she had defined and the duration. And she always tell, Shine and Elizabeth ma'am, you are really studious and everything you completed on time. So what is important is motivation from the team is also very, very important. So, so I thank our guide, and you should get a good guide if you really want to do a good study. So this study, this simulation is a topic which I have chosen, is helpful always throughout my career. Wherever I go, I can talk about simulation. Like recently also, when when they were talking about code red, that is fire, regarding fire drill, how to teach. So I was telling them, let us start simulation based learning. Yes, they were doing it. It is not that they were not doing, but somewhere what I found is the scenario is not prepared, or the debriefing what we will do, that is not ready. So all this is also a vital part which goes along with your simulation based learning. So this I have a lot of passion towards this subject, and I would urge that each and everyone should go for this simulation should be the mantra for everyone, and you should go for the simulation based learning. Finally we did it, and we were able to complete in 3 years, because like first year what happened, we were just sinking into it that we are doing PhD, still time is there, still time is there. It took a lot of time for us to finalize the topic and go through the literature. That was really a task, to review all the literature and collect matters. Second year what happened, I realized that yes, I am doing PhD, and the actual study was done, and then the big task of chapter reading was there. And third year was when submission, plagiarism, pre-thesis, final viva, all this we did on time. And that's the time when the COVID set in, and lockdown set in, and there was little delay in our PhD pre-thesis and viva. Finally we completed. So I'm very proud to say that we have completed, and I urge everybody that you should do PhD, which will help you in your career.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Shine. If you can stop sharing the screen, it will be good. So we can come back to the proper view. Wow, that was really, really great. And I was listening to the entire thing so intently because simulation is my passion. So you rightly told that it is not necessary that you need to have mannequins or anything. That's something I learned when I started doing the simulation in real world. First, I insisted to the company that I need a high fidelity simulator. So that was given, we were trained. But slowly as we were training, we realized, it's not that machine that is important. I think the word I would say is creativity. As an instructor, a simulation instructor, can you think creatively, right? And that's exactly what you said. But putting it all into certain templates helps you to standardize. That's the beauty of, putting down the scenario. So if you have them, so I think in the end, you said that, you may not even need, classroom. So while I was doing some reading on patient safety when I was developing the course, so one thing I came about was that they called it as a roving patient. So what happens is that if there is any adverse event that happened, so the team will just go to every ward and they will pick up a vacant room and they will just simulate. They will have actors with them. Okay. So the patient with there will be a patient, then there will be a doctor. Whatever is that error that happened, they will just bring it up into the team, and the people who are on duty, they will come and join the simulation. And I think, as you rightly told, the heart of the simulation is definitely the debriefing. And debriefing is not only attached to the simulation. I think we all keep using it, but we don't use the word debriefing. When something happens in the family also, we get together to discuss why it happened, what went wrong. That's actually a debriefing. And I see someone putting a message on standardized patients. In India, it is little difficult to get standardized patient. We tried, we had to get actors, and they charge you for behaving like that. So in OSCE, in UK and all, they are actually using standardized patients. So they have actors who will act as COPD or whatever, so they know exactly how to act.
Correct.
So we may have to do a little bit of creativity here and there. Sridevi is telling that we pay standardized patients. Yes, we have to pay. We tried in Delhi, but they were asking for a bomb to come and do that, acting for that. So then we were not getting paid that much to pay to them, so we had to drop that idea. And one more thing I thought, those people who are sitting here who have any interest in simulation, if you want to do more, study, maybe soft skills. They are actually hard skills. Simulation really works if you want to inculcate, teamwork, empathizing, and all those, communication tools that we are talking about, whether it is IDET, is BART, read back, call out, all these tools works extremely well if you can simulate it, and they don't forget. One of the tricks that we used was that we actually create a checklist for the entire scenario. What are the expected behaviors? So the people who are watching the scenario, we used to give them the checklist and say, we would like you to find out what went wrong. That was far better than asking them to focus on what is going right, because human beings are very keen to find out what went wrong.
True.
So they will actually look at the screen and say, okay, this one was not done, even if it is not in the checklist. They'll find very minute things. And I think the most important thing that you told is the debriefing skills. So we had huge challenge when we had doctors participating in simulation to stop them from teaching. So they will do entire scenario, and the moment you start the debriefing, they will take over the platform. Then I have to go and give a small chip to say, sir, debrief, not teach. Then they say, okay, now you tell me, how did you feel? Then they will start. These are people who are actually trained and certified in our center, but still it's like adat se majboor, right? But I think if someone really loves this, you can get fantastic results from your team. And it takes little courage also, Shine. It's also very important. Because nothing new comes out of your comfort zone. You literally have to step out of your comfort zone to create an entire onboarding or induction program simulation based. But it's only one time effort. Once you do it, everything is documented, right? And I think that's what you said, that you had scenarios for everything, and Sridevi is chatting up very quickly and saying, yes, exactly. In debriefing, the person just shut up and allow everybody else. The first training that I underwent, that the instructors came from Singapore. Okay, so the doctor who came, it was actually a code blue scenario with high fidelity simulator, but he was behaving like one of the nasty doctors that you can get, very nasty doctors. Even though I was participating, I was also feeling uncomfortable. So, but then during the debriefing, everybody was allowed to say, I felt uncomfortable because you were shouting. I was not able to draw the medicines. I was confused, that whether I should take this or take this, so everybody kind of, they were able to express what they felt. I think if someone can pull this all through in hospitals, I think a lot can be achieved, not only in nursing, but probably around all kinds of interdisciplinary. And multiple times you mentioned about multidisciplinary approach. I think once you can get the doctor, the physiotherapist, the dietitian, in those difficult scenarios, if you bring them all in at least once, I think the willingness is the most important part of the instructor, and people will enjoy when they come in there. But the leadership and the training team, to shift from the PPT model, PPT can be used to support in case there is a lack of knowledge, the base level knowledge is missing, then PPT can be used. So I was writing all those things as a debriefing after an event, you told very correctly. So you can use them in parts on a daily basis, or you can use them in complete, context for, training people. So I really hope people who are sitting here, that they are interested in simulation, and I'm going to ask them in case they have any questions before I start asking a couple of questions to you.
So what I want to add, like as ma'am, what you rightly said, that everybody knows the terminology, debriefing. Now it's like everybody say, okay, come on, let's do debriefing. But as you said, they mix up with the teaching. So it's very important that at least one person is trained as a simulation instructor, at least know the concept of the simulation instructor. So she can put a full stop, when actually I mean, she can have a structured way and she can train others how debriefing has to be done. I told you I did my simulation instructor course. In that 6 days also, they were talking only about how a debriefing has to be done. That was the main topic, of the session. So it's very important to understand the technique, how it is done, and which context it has to be done, what are the different ways. So ma'am, if you're taking a lead to teach regarding simulation instructor, it would be very nice. And it will help our trainers, and instructors to do a better job.
Maybe I will invite you to participate in, let's see how people are going to request me to say, can we put together a training for nursing, trainers,
Yes.
that how can you use simulation principles in a day-to-day life. And I think debriefing itself is a course by itself. You just have to learn the part of it. So I think a lot of good comments have come from Sridevi. If I am not mistaken, this must be Sridevi from Muscat. Are you? Hi, Sridevi.
Yes. It is Sridevi from Muscat.
Okay. So let me open the floor to the team here. We have few more minutes. I will allow few minutes for the participants here in case you want to ask any question directly. Somebody asked here, what was your conclusion of the study? That's from Irene Christo.
Yeah. So if I talk about the conclusion of the study, you saw the objectives which is laid down. But for all the objectives, there was not a positive answer. There were, few challenges also. There were sometimes the hypothesis which was laid down was not what was not the true hypothesis, some were null hypothesis. So that was there. But finally, when we measured, one of the objective was to see the association and the correlation between the competency and the knowledge of the staff and the confidence of the staff. So if you see, that was really gave a positive connotation to the whole study. And it helped me to, it is a proven study that simulation-based learning is effective. But in this Indian scenario, with the nurses, with the new joiners, the conclusion showed that they really increase their level of knowledge, and anything and everything you can simulate. And strongly, the staff were for introducing this simulation-based learning.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shine. There's one more question which was there, that what is your specialty and from where did you pursue your PhD? Yeah.
What is the?
What is your background? What's your specialty in MSc and where did you pursue your PhD?
Okay, so I did my BSc and MSc from SNDT. I did my master's in pediatric, and I pursued PhD from JGTU University from Jaipur.
So now you are actually working in a children's hospital, right?
Yes.
So with your specialty pediatrics, and
Yes.
I'm not a pediatric experienced nurse, but I know that pediatrics has got huge scope of simulation, because there is so much that one nurse needs to understand when they manage the children, right? So
Yes.
have you used that knowledge and your PhD there into your new hospital? Are you planning?
Yeah. So, ma'am, that was the reason why I joined SRCCS, so that, because I have done my pediatrics, so I thought I will focus a little more on that. And you will see there are a lot of complex cases in pediatric, like what you have seen in book picture, you are getting to see in live in this SRCC. Like example, I don't know whether you have read about FIF, that fetus in feto. A fetus swallowing another fetus, So such cases also we have seen in SRCC. So here what happened, what we teach them is like an adult can always express. A pediatric, it is a challenge. So from basic assessment, how to do an assessment and how will you put an IV cannula for a pediatric, all this is simulation-based learning. They were doing it, but we have implemented more and more. We have created molds. You can create molds. You can create models. All this you can create. You have to just tell your nurses, give them some idea, they will come out. Like this model which I showed you all, it was made by a housekeeping. But so nicely he did it. It is still kept in a plastic container which is used for lifelong for a staff. So you can create these models. You can create hematoma, you can create thrombophlebitis. All these models and molds you can create and you can teach. So we have done a lot of things in pediatric hospital. Still there is a lot to do. So yeah, so it is in process. So I am glad that I was able to implement my learnings wherever I went. And that gives me happiness, and I love to share this whatever I have learned also. So
Okay,
that's
probably we will create that opportunity. I'll be more than happy to do that. We'll definitely carry forward this discussion. So there's a question from Jyoti. Can scenarios be in the process of improvisation post training, or can be the same each time?
yeah. So scenarios, you can like if you have an SOP, those scenarios can be standard. Okay, you have an SOP, so you don't keep on changing the process, right? You have a process defined and you follow same one. So at that time you can, but you can play around with your scenario. You can define based on that particular moment. You can have some changes also. So that is not a concern. So that's why, like Tangam ma'am said, that when you there is a situation, like especially in standardized simulator, you can speak. You saw in one room I had shown you, there was a mic kept. So you can be behind the curtain and you can tell them, the situations. You can throw some light on the situations. So you can create scenarios also spontaneously based on what the nurse is doing. You can manipulate, but some scenarios can be standard so that you teach in a structured manner.
I would like to add to that. Shine's answer is that it's very important. Shine mentioned about writing down the objectives. So you need to stay true to the objectives. So that is one mistake that we can do. That we have created a scenario, but I want to achieve 20 objectives. Then you don't get the desired results. So if you have written down 5 objectives, you should focus on debriefing on those 5 objectives. This is something I have experienced with my trainers also and with myself also. There is a tendency, you want to talk about that also, you want to talk about this also, but then what happens in the end, what you have set out to train, that will get diluted. So you need to be very clear that this is the time limit I have, this is the objective. So improvisation, you will think only when you want to now bring everyone to the next level or something, because I am sure that in hospitals we do have a challenge just to bring everyone to one. So I think Sridevi is putting here, debriefing should not have more than one message or maximum two. So when we were writing down the objectives, we had only 3 lines. We left only 3 lines there, and so that way you are able to contain the time that you use for debriefing. So I think this discussion we can go on for ever and ever. So we are just 8:58. I am very aware of the timing. So I am very sure that anyone who wants to have a chat with Dr. Shine Anil, if you have her number, good. If not, just get in touch with me and I can connect you. And anyone is stimulated to follow simulation, then also let me know also. I will also try to help you, and Shine is more than willing to help also, right? So you have 2 champions on simulations. We will be more than happy. So Shine, before we wrap up, a
Yes.
few questions not related to simulation or your PhD. Okay, just one answer. The book that you are reading now.
Now, Careless Whisper.
Okay. Your favorite Bollywood actor.
Shah Rukh.
Wow. And your favorite Bollywood actress?
Actress Sri Devi.
Oh, she's no more. She used to be my favorite. May her soul rest in peace. You enjoy?
Enjoy eating.
That's a very nice one. There are a lot of people who might agree with you. So you regret?
Regret losing my sister.
Okay, I'm really sorry. Should have touched that. I'm really sorry. So may she also rest
I
in
regret,
peace.
like, the reason why, I don't know, it just happened, and I feel I could have done a lot of things for her, which I didn't. So that is what, because she helped me financially for the study also, anytime, whether I want or whether I didn't want, she always used to support. So I wish she was there today to see this victory of mine.
I'm very sure that wherever she is, she's happy for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think there is a saying that we all might be having regrets, but remember the given situation, if you have done everything that is possible with good intent, then it is taken care of, because there is always the wants every time we feel that, I wish I could have done more. I have also lost my father, my sister. So my advice to you will be that, don't get into a mode where you always keep on thinking. So reverse the mode, think of all the good times that you have spent together. That becomes now a tough one. If you are not a nurse, what will you be?
Wanted to be a pilot.
Okay. Great. So we all have such desires, and maybe keep it going. That someday you may be able to fly even a small plane or something. I don't know. So
Yeah,
I think we all have that. I really enjoyed that last part of one liner,
yeah, even
and I really hope that all of you enjoyed as much as I have enjoyed this session. So congratulations, Dr. Shain Anil,
thank you.
and very proud of you. And we look forward that we'll do something together in simulation, because I'm very excited when it comes to simulation. And today where I sit, maybe I'm not able to do much, but yes, I do sometimes advise and consult for designing of simulation labs, because
Yeah.
that is an experience that I've had. From
Mhm.
scratch we built the simulation center, so that's an experience I have.
Yeah. So to conclude, I want to give this message, Pearl and all my colleagues. I want to give this message that, it's very exciting and it is challenging to do a PhD. And you should do it. And you may wonder, like, what you get, what have you achieved? Yes, I got a prefix of doctor. Yes, not only that, you become very thorough about, in-depth knowledge you get, because you read and read and read. So you get an in-depth knowledge about it. And I would say that you should get a good guide, so who will really help you out throughout your journey. And friends, though, you have, all of us have friends, it's all depends how you take them along with you. So I'm sure that everyone will be motivated, and you should aim for PhD. Yeah, that's the message from me.
So I think there are a lot of people who are motivated, and I think last time when Elizabeth finished her talk, I think three people called her personally
Okay.
uh, because they wanted to do their PhD. So I'm hoping. So I am showcasing the three nursing leaders who completed the PhD while in service. For me,
Yeah.
that's a very unique thing that I would like to showcase to all the nurses, because everybody is used to academicians, doing PhD. So, friends, this is our second installment, and the third installment will be when we have Captain Dr. Usha Banerjee here doing the same thing. And we hope that we will see more of you here, and we will have a good time. And thank you so much, Shine, again,
Ma'am,
and
can I just,
keep doing
sorry.
great things. And Pearl,
Ma'am,
you
can I
want to
just,
say
yes,
something?
can I just
Yes,
say
yes,
something?
go
I'm
ahead, go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
I cannot stop myself. I thought I should not interrupt what you were saying, but I think I just wanted to express this, that Sister Shine, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Because once I finished my MSc, that's when I got selected for MSc, I think the first person who came and wished me was Sister Shine, and I think I was a very novice nurse at that time, and she has a huge contribution towards my growth into nursing. So I did MSc, then she did MSc, and now she has done PhD, and she's been motivating me to do my PhD. So I think as professionals, we have grown a lot. We have worked together for many years as a team. And I think she's one person who has been, no matter where you are, she always prays for you. She's very caring. And she's very appreciative of young nurses doing better. That is one quality which I picked from her, because I'm a little less appreciative of people. I want people to excel a lot to appreciate. But I do remember that she says that we need to be appreciative of people and motivate. So here's to you, Sister Shine, that we are so proud of you that I can today call you Dr. Shine. And bless you always, and wonderful success. Also, message to everybody else also, simulation is something that we have seen her doing, and she does it very well, very passionately. She follows every principle to the T. There are certain universities also, Takam ma'am, there is, I'm sure you must be knowing Mohammed bin Rashid University. My very good friend is one of the teachers over there, and they are doing a lot of simulation work, and they're really, really progressing well. I think they also had a presentation in the Dubai Expo this year. So simulation is picking up, and I think nursing, all of us in nursing, we know that a lot of nurses nowadays do not actually, the student nurses do not get to practice on patients a lot nowadays. So when you have the simulation-based techniques, it's a better way of learning and getting their competency, levels a little higher. So it's a wonderful study that sister you have done, and I think simulation is the way forward for nursing too. We need to adopt that. Sorry, that's all. I'm very happy and proud of this time.
Thank you.
So someday we'll have Pearl also chatting up here like this after she finishes. All the best for that, and thank you each and everyone for being here, and hope to see you all again on 30th of October again at 8 p.m. to meet Captain Dr. Usha Banerjee. And thank you all once again, and God bless you. And thanks, Shine, once again. All the very best, and keep shining. Someone told apt name, so I think, yes, it is the apt name. Captain Dr. Usha Banerjee is on the video. So, ma'am, we will see you on 30th October.
Yes.
With your journey.
Yes, ma'am.
So great. I am so excited to bring all of you and showcase all of you to the future nurses. I'm very, very happy. And all these recordings will be always there on Signia Healthcare's YouTube channel. So whenever you want, you can go and catch up. Thank you, Dr. Usha, for being here throughout the time. Yeah.
No,
thank you.
I must congratulate Shine. Extremely well done. And I think a wonderful topic. All of us are so passionate about it and need of the hour. And thanks to Ms. Thangam for, beautifully weaving this story. And I'm 100% sure that many of them would be inspired to take up this journey. And I'm certain these two ladies have set a great benchmark. So I'll have to do a little more research to try and organize myself to get where they are. So look forward to my presentation too. I hope it'll be further.
Yeah, it will be rocking as usual, Usha. No doubt about that. So we look forward to that. So Shabak Khair and good night to all of you, and see you on 30th. Take care. Shine. Thank you once again, and bye-bye.
Good night, ma'am. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, ma'am.